we saw the Silver Slugger stuff yesterday. We noticed that the Cubs didn't have a Silver Slugger. And one of my biggest beefs here on our podcast here is that the Cubs have a bunch of good players. They still do. Ian Happ is a good player. Seiya Suzuki's a good player. Dansby Swanson's a good player. Maybe Shota and Steele start to push you into the words great player. Maybe that's the hope. But they don't have a superstar player. You got to see superstar players when you're doing sidelines at the NLCS. When you're at covering the World Series for MLB Network, you see superstar players. In your opinion, how far off are the Cubs from being in that mix? I know baseball's a different sport, but you see all the teams. How far away are the Cubs from being in the mix with a team like the Dodgers, even the Mets?
Whoa. The Dodgers. I mean, that's
the Grand Canyon of gaps.
I don't know about the Dodgers. I think to be competitive like the Mets, I don't think they're that far off. But it's gonna take a really good offseason this year. Roy was just talking about this last night that you got to make some moves this season, man. You got to make some moves this offseason. So I mean, like, who in your guys' opinion, who is the face of the team right now?
Well, that's a great question. I don't.
The Shota after 1
year.
You
probably would have said Dansby Swanson 2 years ago, but now you have a fan base that's so divided on Dansby just because he makes $170 million that they're like, oh, he doesn't hit enough home runs. Well, he's never been that guy, so I don't know what to expect. Is it Justin Steele?
Yeah,
Dansby, Justin Steele, Nico Horner, Ian Happ. It's one of those four guys.
Shota?
Yeah. I would say
it's not Shota yet.
Yes, Siera says Shota.
That's your biggest star.
Yeah,
and that's my problem. You don't have an everyday player that is a superstar.
Yeah.
Okay, so the difference between a team like the Cubs and the Mets, right, is that the Mets they did have that bona fide superstar. You have Pete Alonso. Now, half the fan base in New York City that were Mets fans absolutely hated him because he wasn't, hitting enough homers during the regular season. Same to your point on Dansby Swanson. Some guys go all in, go all out. But he did have those signature moments in the postseason where you're like, okay, that's why. That's why.
Yeah,
right.
But you don't have that, in my opinion, on the Cubs. You don't have that guy. Now you got to go out and get that guy and get I think when you make a trade or sign a guy that is that superstar player, it re-engages the fans. Now, I'm not saying Cubs fans will always go to Cubs games. Cubs fans will always go, but it's a matter of reinvigorating the fan base, getting them excited for the next season because it is a winnable division. It's not it's not AL East, man.
No, and Siera, Lindor was pretty great last year too. So you could say two superstar players, right? And then you talk about a closer that could be a superstar. And you go through the list, and all those teams have not just one superstar; they have multiple superstar players.
Well, and like Siera, you mentioned like the Cubs have to go out and get one of those guys, and the clearest one they could have gone out and gotten, I guess he's
still
not technically off the market, is Juan Soto. And I know the Cody Bellinger opting back in complicates things, but I think the people that follow the Cubs every day, the people that talk about the Cubs every day, like have kind of resigned to the fact that they were not really serious suitors for Juan Soto before the sweepstakes even started. From a national perspective, to not see the Cubs named among other teams, especially teams with the resources similar to what the Cubs have. And from a national perspective, what does that look like?
Somebody just said the logo is the star. It's funny. I was just having this conversation last night with Harold Reynolds and Greg Amsinger when we were having a snack during our break in a shoot. And we were talking about how individuals tend not to be the feature on a team, right? That it is the logo, right? It's the logo that teams promote. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, you want a Shohei Ohtani who's doing New Balance commercials, right?
Yeah. I do.
You want that. You want that superstar player. Sorry, I cut you off. Remind me of the question again.
Which is from a national perspective, to not see the Cubs named among Juan Soto's top suitors, or not even really involved at all. What does that look like?
That doesn't surprise me.
No, but what do you guys like when you're sitting around the desk and when you're having these snacks with Harold Reynolds? Are people saying does it come out? The Cubs are kind of cheap. Does the word cheap come out, or is it just surprising that they don't get into the mix with? They don't have a $200 million player. The Phillies pile them up like they're at a rummage sale.
But I've never even, the Cubs were never even a potential destination from what I've heard in people's minds, in analysts' minds for Juan Soto. That was never even that was never even trickled down or even talked about. Now, a team like the Phillies, but you look at the Cubs, and I mean, the last time that there was all these like superstar players was when Dexter Fowler was on the team. No?
Yes, and most of those guys came from a farm system, but how often can you count on a farm system to produce your MVP and your first baseman and your shorts? Like,
you got to go out and
you have to pay.
I don't know why. Maybe Juan Soto doesn't want to play in Chicago. Maybe, it was never even a question. Or not even a potential destination, and that's got to be discouraging. If I'm a Cubs fan, I'm discouraged by that, right? Yeah. But you got to go out and make it happen.
We all silly like the mayor.